Hello and welcome to the latest ATTA webinar. Today's webinar is Relaunching SkySafari and Introducing their 2021 program. Presenting today is Liz Harper. Liz is SkySafari's UK-based representative with nearly 20 years experience in the travel industry and is fortunate enough to be working with some incredible brands, including SkySafari, and shares their commitment to supporting conservation and community projects in the regions in which they operate. Joining Liz today is Mia Lawson, SkySafari's General Manager. Mia has over 30 years experience in the tourism industry, from guiding, running her own DMC and mobile camping operation with her husband. Mia has been at SkySafari since 2018 and has been growing and fine-tuning the product since then. So Liz will be doing a presentation and Mia will be on hand for the Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please type these into the Q&A box and I will address these to both Mia and Liz after the presentation. As always, we're also recording the session. So if you do miss anything, please look out for the recording to catch up. So I'll now hand over to Liz for her presentation. Liz, if you'd like to just share your video, the floor is yours for the presentation.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. I'm delighted to be able to talk to you about the new SkySafari program going forward. I'm joined today, as Chris said, by Mia Lawson, who's General Manager of SkySafari, dialing in from Arusha in Tanzania. I think the last 6, 9, gosh, how many months is it now, has been fairly excruciating for everyone in the travel industry. And we had to suspend operations of SkySafari back in April, but have really used that time, I think, to look at the brand, the product and the proposition, and have been refining it over the last few months. And we're delighted to be here today to talk you through the new and improved SkySafari. For those that don't know SkySafari, it's essentially a seamless, luxurious, private charter flying safari. And from next year, we'll be offering 3 itineraries, one in Kenya, one in Tanzania, and one that encompasses the best of both elements of those 2 countries. Clients can either travel on selected departure dates, the aircraft seats 8 passengers, or buy the plane out exclusively. And actually, we've been seeing a real growth in exclusive buyout over the last couple of years, particularly with families and multi-gen groups. So very happy to talk to you about those. So we own and operate custom designed executive class Cessna caravans. And whereas a scheduled service might squeeze in perhaps 13 or 14 sort of fairly thin and upright seats, we just have 8 reclining armchairs. So we like to think of it as business class rather than economy travel. But it's more than just kind of armchair travel. We have a pilot who stays with the aircraft during the duration of the safaris and takes time to get to know the guests. The fact that it's our own aircraft means there's no need to get to airstrips in advance of travel. It's a drive up and board service. And we also fly directly between properties, which saves a lot of time with the drop-offs and pickups that normally experienced in scheduled flights. We think we deliver not only the most comfortable and luxurious air transfers, but actually also the most efficient. This is Peter, one of our pilots in Kenya, and a big favourite with people that have travelled with us over the last couple of years. This slide really sums up what SkySafari delivers, both for clients, for those travelling with us, and for you, our trade partners. So we like to think of the SkySafari product as a meticulously curated luxury safari. We've spent a lot of time developing what we believe is the best circuit and experience in each of the areas we operate in. We've worked really closely with trade partners on today's call, so thank you for all that you've done in support of this. Travel that benefits community and conservation, and I think this is becoming ever more important, and I'll touch on some of what we're doing around that in a minute. Single check-in and check-out, it does what it says on the tin. Clients will check in at the first property they arrive at, and check out at the last, and any incidentals that are incurred along the way, whether it's spa treatments or shop purchases, can just be settled at the end. We have VIP meet and greet at international airports, so they're whisked through without the usual hanging around. Dedicated aircraft and luxurious travel we've talked about. SkySafari also enables guests to bring more luggage, so 23 kilos versus 15 on scheduled flights. And in terms of our accommodation, we work with sister brand, the Eloana collection. I think most of you will be familiar with Eloana, but essentially they have 16 diverse and beautiful properties throughout Kenya and Tanzania and Zanzibar. And the properties are really diverse in terms of style, but all offer great customer service, lovely levels of accommodation and first class guiding, as you would expect. Ultimately with SkySafari, it's all in the detail. There are lots of bells and whistles that come as part of the parcel, and I'll talk about those as we go through, but it's an all-inclusive package. The only additional cost is park fees, park and conservancy fees. Everything else is included, all the activities, any extras, and it's all included within the price, including tips. It's very seamless and personal service. And by that, it's everything from knowing how a client likes their gin and tonic, that will be conveyed between the properties as they move on, to perhaps if someone's been really keen to see one species and they haven't seen it on one leg of the trip, the guides at the next property will work really hard to see how they can deliver that. And importantly for you, our trade partners, we have regular departures and we'll send you a calendar of those after this webinar. And we guarantee departures with 2 passengers. So if you book a flight with 2 passengers and they end up being the only 2 on that aircraft, that aircraft will run. They'll just have it to themselves, which is rather nice. It's easy to sell and it's simple to book, and we have some great commission structures. Probably worth mentioning at this point, we have a showcase website launching at the end of December, which is a really a storytelling and visual marketing tool for SkySafari. And we also have an agent portal that will launch in early next year, which will enable you to see availability, lifetime availability, to hold seats, book seats, and pay for seats on SkySafari. So more of that to come. Just touching briefly on the whole giving back element. This is something I could talk about for hours, but Chris has given me 20 minutes to talk about everything, so I won't. But a couple of things to mention. Firstly, every flight SkySafari operates on a carbon negative basis. And also every trip contributes to Land and Life, which is a foundation that's been set up to support conservation and communities in the regions in which we operate. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our 3 new programs. We have a Kenya, a Tanzania, and an East Africa, which encompasses the best of both. SkySafari Kenya is really showcasing the best of this incredible country. It includes game drives at every property, obviously, but also lots of added extras, and we'll go through those. You can see the SkySafari Kenya aircraft takes. Clients spend a night, and then there's 2 nights in Amboseli, 3 nights in Loisaba up in Laikipia, and 3 nights in the Masai Mara. I think most people will be familiar with Hemingway's. It's a beautiful property built on the grounds of an old coffee plantation. Located in Karen, a suburb named in the memory of Kenya's most famous author, Karen Blixen, and a great place for some post-flight R&R. But clients wishing to go out and venture outside the property on the first morning of their stay, Giraffe Centre, the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, and the Karen Blixen Museum are all pretty much on the doorstep. Day 2 sees us take to the skies for the first leg of SkySafari, where the aircraft heads down to Amboseli National Park down in the south. I think Amboseli is a photographer's dream, presenting those iconic shots of elephants in the foreground and Mount Killy as a backdrop. Over 50 species and 600 species of birds at Amboseli. So, you know, there's an awful lot to see and do there. Clients will be staying at Eluana Tortillas Camp during their time in Amboseli, which is a gold level eco-rated kind of rustic luxe thatched camp based in a conservancy to the southwest of the park, offering incredible views of Mount Kilimanjaro. During their stay at the camp, guests will enjoy game drives, obviously, but also the fact that we're in a conservancy means that we can do bushwalks and do some sundowners in the bush, classic G&T as the sun goes down. Day 5 Saba, a 57,000 acre private conservancy in northern Laikipia. Loisaba is an integrated model for integrated conservation and community development. We've seen a real increase in interest and client demand to visit this area. During their time in Loisaba, they'll be staying at the Loisaba Tented Camp, Eluana Loisaba Tented Camp, very different in style to Tortillas. And I think these itineraries all provide real diversity in terms of wildlife viewing opportunities, in terms of the landscapes we visit, and in terms of the styles of accommodation that clients are staying in, which is really important. So we've got 3 nights in Loisaba. Clients can spend all 3 nights at the tented camp, or they can choose to spend a night under the stars in the Eluana star beds, which is an incredible opportunity and experience for those that would like to do it. Game drives, of course, are given in the area, and the wildlife viewing here is fantastic. But Loisaba offers a host of other activities above and beyond the usual game drives. Clients can horse ride, they can camelback ride, there's mountain biking, there's fishing. There's the opportunity to visit the Conservancy headquarters and see the sniffer dogs in action. So there's lots of activities that form part of the SkySafari package in Loisaba. The guests can take part in. And we also offer a bush breakfast during their stay here and some sundowners reached by camel or horseback ride. And then last but certainly not least on our Kenya itinerary is a visit to the mighty Masai Mara. And for those guests timing it right, of course, there is the migration, but there's a lot more to the Mara than the migration and many benefits for coming outside of it. Tucked away in the corner of the park, but in a great location, is Eluana Sand River, a sort of a camp reminiscent of safaris of bygone years. And again, during their time here, guests will get to visit a Maasai village, as well as having all the usual game drives and a couple of added extras thrown in. I think it's fair to say with SkySafari, there's an awful lot of bells and whistles that come as standard, but there are a few elements that we keep up our sleeves for when clients arrive. And then whizzing through SkySafari, I'm very conscious of time. SkySafari circuit is the classic northern Tanzania circuit. And during this itinerary, guests will travel between Arusha, Tarangire treetops, Ngorongoro crater, and the Serengeti. In Arusha, first night is spent at the Arusha Coffee Lodge, just an hour from Kilimanjaro Airport. Tanzania's largest working coffee plantation. And during their stay here, clients will get to do a bush to bean coffee tour, which is a really interesting tour. And also the opportunity to visit Shanga, which is a social enterprise employing people with disabilities to create some really beautiful jewellery and glassware from recycled goods. Moving on, the first leg of the itinerary, we head to Tarangire. Tarangire is known for its elephant population, more than 3,000 elephants, and some good sized herds there. Eluana Treetops is a, as it says on the tin, it's a treehouse accommodation some beautiful properties, rooms up in the treetops with views out over the Conservancy. Again, because we're on the edge of the park itself in a private conservancy, we're able to offer bushwalks here and also night drives to see the nocturnal action of the bush. So that all forms part of the SkySafari package. And there's a waterhole at this property just below the bar, so you can actually sit within the bar itself and see animals at the waterhole below you. Day 4, we head to Ngorongoro, and you can get some great bird's eye views of Lake Manyara as we fly overhead. Ngorongoro, one of the highlights of any visit, I think, to Tanzania, the world's largest intact caldera, and home to over 30,000 animals, the highest density of wildlife in Africa. During their time at this at the manor at Ngorongoro, clients will get to spend a day in the crater itself and also some time in Lake Manyara, perhaps best known for tree climbing lions, but there's an awful lot more besides within the Lake Manyara National Park. As I mentioned, home during this period is in the manor at Ngorongoro, one of the most lavish, I think, properties on the safari circuit, about 30 minutes from the crater rim. It's a superb property. We've actually got 3 nights here, although it's only 2 full days, allowing a day in the crater and a day at Manyara. But the additional night here was really added as a result of feedback from our trade partners who felt that clients would benefit from a bit of downtime at this point in the safari. And this is a beautiful property for a bit of R&R, whether it's a spa treatment, a game of croquet on the lawn, a horse ride through the coffee plantation, or whatever. So that time, 3 nights at the manor at Ngorongoro. And then day 7, it's time to head to Tanzania's big hitter, the Serengeti. And we spend 3 nights in the Serengeti. Again, this itinerary was previously a shorter itinerary, and we've extended both Kenya and Tanzania to allow a bit more time in these big hitters at the end. Accommodation in the Serengeti depends on the season. January to May, you'll be staying in Eliwana Pioneer Camp, and June to December in Eliwana Migration Camp. Both offer incredible accommodation and front row seats to some pretty spectacular wildlife viewing. And then last but not least, for those clients with a little more time, a little more budget, or just a desire to experience the best of both worlds, we're now launching our first East Africa itinerary, a 13-day, 12-nighter that takes in Amboseli, Loisaba, the Masai Mara, Serengeti, and the Ngorongoro crater. So it packs one heck of a punch in 13 days. I think whichever safari SkySafari clients choose, they can be assured of the most incredible experience, luxurious accommodation, phenomenal wildlife viewing, and a real stress-free and hassle-free experience. Ultimately, it's about luxury charter aircraft, it's business class safari, it's drive up and fly, so no waiting around. It's extra time on the ground. And I think one of the things that Mia, who will join us in a second, has looked at is the amount of time it saves clients. And it's between 17 and 24 hours, depending on which itinerary people choose, of transfer time that's saved by this service. Ultimately, people are coming to East Africa to see the wildlife, and what we want to do is facilitate that in the most luxurious way and give them the most opportunity to experience life in the bush. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Liz, for a fantastic presentation. So as I said at the beginning, we do have the opportunity for Q&A. We have had a couple of questions come through already. So if you do have any further questions, please just type these into the Q&A box, and I'll address these both to Liz and Mia now. First off, I'm actually going to address a question that came through in the registration process. Obviously, traveling at this time with the risk of COVID and everything, it is a concern for potential travelers. So it's sort of two-part question. Firstly, where would they be able to receive care that would include access to a ventilator? And is there any facility in Tanzania, or would they need to fly through to Nairobi for that?
No, so they can stay in Tanzania. We have Celian Hospital in Arusha. We got KCMC in Moshi, and we got a hospital in Dar es Salaam in case they are in Zanzibar, which is called IST, that has all these facilities.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you, Mia. So questions that have started coming through from the live session now. Question from Sandra: do clients need soft-sided luggage?
It is our preference, and it would be lovely if they could have the soft bags just to fit it into the belly of the plane.
Okay, perfect. Liz, you mentioned the star beds at Loya Saba. Is there any supplement for staying in the star beds?
No, there's no supplement.
No, it's entirely client's choice whether they choose to stay at the tented camp for the 3 nights or whether they choose to do a night at the star beds. But yes, no, that's included within the SkySafari price.
That's great. Question here from Ronan. If someone books the whole plane, can the itinerary be changed? So is it possible, for example, to take an extra night in Loya Saba to take advantage of excursions that are available?
No, I'm sorry, that's not possible.
Okay. Okay, this is more around sort of protocols. So a question from Geordie around testing, PCR testing specifically for COVID. How does that work when you're doing both the Kenya and Tanzania itinerary?
So you have to have a COVID test coming into Kenya, which is no older than 96 hours. Then going into Tanzania, you don't need it. So there's no COVID test crossing the border. If you're then flying back out again into out of Kenya rather than Arusha or Kilimanjaro, then we will deal with Dr. Frank in Karatu. So when the guests are at Manor, we will arrange the COVID test there, and then it takes 3 days, and then we will get it back in time for them to fly out.
Okay, perfect. Question from Anya. Is a 7-night itinerary possible in Kenya, or is the 9-night itinerary the only option?
So we used to do the 7 nights, both in Kenya and Tanzania, but we have changed it to the 9, both on demand from our agents that use us, but also because I think it's a better. So no, we're sticking to the 9 nights.
Okay. And from Eugenio, is it possible to stay in different accommodations in the Serengeti due to the location of the migration?
So we do swap around and try to follow the migration as much as possible. And with Pioneer then in central Serengeti and migration camp up in the north. That's our dates, but if we have space and there we can be slightly flexible between Pioneer and migration camp.
Question from Tess. So firstly, thank you for a great presentation, which I echo. Just with regards to family safaris, do all of the camps and lodges mentioned allow for smaller children to share a room with their parents?
Yes, that's not a problem. And SkySafari has no age restriction on children or ages of children.
Okay.
I think we've seen, as I touched on in the presentation, SkySafari is perfect for families. And we've seen multi-gens take over the airplane exclusively, and it becomes, you know, a private air charter around Kenya or Tanzania that kind of runs, you know, just for your family. And we've had some great feedback off the back of that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think especially at this time where there's so much talk, especially here in the UK anyway, around people's bubbles and staying safe within your bubble and the people around you, seems like a perfect opportunity to travel in that way. So just a couple of more questions that are coming through. One, I think this has already really been answered with regards to the PCR testing. So which camps are you able to facilitate this at?
So the testing itself would be at the manor in Ngorongoro for Tanzania. And Sand River Mara, it's in a hospital in Narok that does it if you only do Kenya.
Okay. Now, I think these are probably going to be the final couple of questions, but we do have a little bit of more time if there are more. So one from Gavin, just double checking the luggage allowance. For 2021, it was mentioned that the luggage allowance has gone up to 23 kilos. Does this include the hand luggage?
Yes, it includes the hand luggage, but it's 23 kilos.
Okay. And a couple more still. Suzanne, when will the rates and schedules be launched?
So, yes, so they are all ready to go. Just finalizing the artwork on the rate sheets. So I was going to say next week.
Okay, that's great. We will be sharing the registrations with Mia. So if anyone would like them, I'm sure she'll be able to share them directly with you. Now, final question just with regards to the manor from Geordie. Is it open just yet, or have the renovations been completed?
No, it's not open yet. And they are continuing with the renovations, and the same for Treetops. They're also renovating there.
Okay. Do we have a date for when they're opening as yet or not?
Yeah, actually, we have said for most of our properties and SkySafari, we've said that May 2021.
Okay. I know I keep saying final questions, but they keep coming in, which is a good thing. So crossing the border when you combine Tanzania and Kenya, is this done via the aircraft or overland from the Serengeti to the Masai Mara?
No, so we are using Kisumu and then going into Musoma and then cross that way. So Mara, Kisumu, Kisumu to Musoma and Musoma into Serengeti. And the experiences there is more or less like you do at Wilson Airport. You know, you get out of the plane, you get into do your immigration services, and then you get back into the plane. And the pilot is with you the whole time. And we are using our Sky plane to fly across, so no schedule.
Okay. And question from Anya, just about Nairobi. Is it possible for clients to stay in Giraffe Manor instead of Hemingway's?
Yes, if you can get the space, I was going to say. We prefer Hemingway's, but anything, you know, only because it's easier for us with the transfers, also with the meet and greet and our briefings. But the Giraffe Manor or properties up in Karen is quite easy to deal with. So yes, I would say that's possible.
Okay, and you've mentioned that the camps, both Treetops and Manor, are closed with renovations. How about the camps on the Kenyan side?
So let me say first Tanzania. So what's open in Tanzania is Arusha Coffee Lodge and Pioneer. And in Kenya, you got Tortoise and you got Sand River. Afro Chic is open. And Kivara House in Lewa is on fully, if you're full buyout.
And Lewa Safari Camp is open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Liz, great presentation. Thank you very much. Mia, great work on the product. Thank you. And thank you for answering all of the questions so well. So to both of you and to all the attendees listening, thank you very much for your time today. We do know that your time is precious. Please do keep an eye out. If you did miss any of the presentation, the recording will be coming through to you in due course. And keep your eyes open for the next ATTA webinar. So thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah,
thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.